This is the digital channel of the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. I am Manoj Mainkar, and in the next half hour, I'll bring to you news updates from India and around the world, awareness videos on coronavirus by Government of India, and a lot more. We'll begin with the news updates.
This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. Namaskar. The news snippets. Read by Maria Albina Michael. 11,86,203 patients have recovered from COVID-19 in the country till now. In the last 24 hours, 40,574 people were discharged. Recovery rate is now 65.77%, according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. 3,81,027 tests were conducted for COVID-19 in the country in the past 24 hours. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Tamil Nadu Governor Banwarilal Purohit and Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa have tested positive for COVID-19. Home Minister is under treatment at a hospital in Gurugram. Senior cabinet ministers, state chief ministers and political leaders have wished the Home Minister a speedy recovery. Pune-based Serum Institute of India has got the nod for the Phase 2 and 3 clinical trials in India for Oxford University AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Government is committed to doubling the income of farmers by 2022. Minister of State for Agriculture Kailash Chaudhary said PM Kisan, ENAM have benefited farmers to a great extent. 87 countries have become members of the International Solar Alliance ISA. It was launched by India and France for rapid and massive deployment of solar energy. Foreign ministers of Iran and UAE held talks on a range of issues, including the COVID-19 pandemic. Both countries have rare exchanges at the ministerial level. Experts have warned that economies of many countries would flounder if COVID-19 cases don't come under controllable limits in the next couple of months. IPL 2020 would be held between 19th September and 10th November at different venues in the UAE. Indian government has given clearance to the BCCI to organize the tournament. And that is the end of the news snippets. The General Overseas Service of All India Radio presents Heartful Conversations. We bring to you renowned speakers from around the world, motivating you towards a positive and a vibrant life. Today we have with us Dr. Hester O'Connor, who is a clinical psychologist and will be speaking on embracing change joyfully. Dr. O'Connor believes that we can all learn to treat ourselves with kindness once we start understanding ourselves better. She believes that we should all learn to let go, to move ahead in life. Let us know more about life from her.
Hello, I'm Dr. Hester O'Connor. I've been a clinical psychologist for almost 35 years. I've worked in the UK and in Ireland with all sorts of different human problems, from family problems, individual problems, and working with my local communities. And today I would like to share with you some ideas on the topic of embracing change joyfully. I hope that there are some tips in here that you will find useful and practical for your life. One of the things that we all struggle with is the idea of change. And the reason for this is that we get used to the habits that we have, even though sometimes the habits we have, we know they're not good for us. So, for example, sometimes we stay up too late, even though we know if we go to bed at a good time at night, we'll be fresher in the morning. And there's a lot of research evidence on the effects of actually getting a good night's sleep. It's a top tip. Turn off your phone and go to bed earlier. It will do your mind and your body an awful lot of good, because when we're sleeping, our body is resting and we can think more clearly in the morning. So that's one thing, that habit that for many of us, we potter around, or we start going on the internet late at night, knowing this is not good for us, and at the same time, we don't know how to stop ourselves. So that's one top thing to get us going immediately. Another thing I would say, in my many years of clinical practice, working with individuals, working with groups, and working with traumatized communities, is that we tend to get very set in how we think about things. And many of us, when we feel wronged, when we feel slighted by another person, or we feel that somebody has not treated us properly, this can weigh on our minds to a great extent. And this makes it really difficult for us sometimes to embrace change with an attitude of joy. So if I give you the example, when somebody comes to me in the office and they want to make change in their life, and we talk about their relationships, and they say such and such a person, maybe one of their parents or a colleague or a manager, has treated them badly, and they feel very aggrieved. And then we talk about how might they let this go. And oftentimes people say that they can't let the memory of how they were badly treated go. And then we end up having a conversation about what are the good points about holding on to this memory of being treated badly and the unfairness, and what might be the bad points about it. And it's inevitable that when we hold on to our grievances, when we really struggle to forgive, and sometimes, in fairness, it can be very hard to forgive. So when we hold on and we won't let go, the person that is most affected by holding on to grudges is ourselves, because what we know from science and from research, that what we think about, that's the thing that we become. Therefore, if we ruminate, and that's the word that I would use, if we go over and over a grievance, or how we were wronged, or how things haven't been fair, it happens in families all the time, it happens in workplaces, it happens, children experience this in the playground. If we find ourselves thinking about it, the person that it's eating up and affecting, certainly affecting your mind, but also affecting our bodies. So when we're mulling over, we go to sleep, and when we wake up in the middle of the night, and the anger is there, and the resentment, and sometimes the wish for revenge, it really can eat away at us, just grinds and grinds around in our mind, and then it starts to affect our health. And I would say some of the digestive problems that we have, or some of the other health issues that we can encounter, can often be the accumulation of years and years of holding on to grievances and really struggling to let things go. And I know that it's difficult, but if we really want to embrace change joyfully, the biggest gift that we could give to ourselves is to say, I'm letting it go. I'm not carrying this extra baggage. It's like 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos of luggage that I'm carrying around on my back day in, day out. And if I can shed it and let it go, how joyful my heart will feel. It will be a wonderful moment. It costs nothing, and it will change you from the inside out, because real change comes when we make a commitment and we love ourselves and care for ourselves and have compassion for ourselves enough to say, I'm letting this baggage go. It has no more place in my life. And another tip I'm going to give you for embracing change joyfully is the wonderful gift of having gratitude. And if you could begin at night writing down 3 things from the day that you feel grateful for, your sleep will be better, your mind will be better, and your heart will certainly be lighter. So, for example, if I think of my day so far today, what do I have to be grateful for? I'm absolutely grateful that I've been given another day to live on this earth. I've had some conversations with people today that were joyful and harmonious. And I've been out in nature and seen birds and lovely plants. No matter what, this is a beautiful thing to do, is to have gratitude. And if you could teach your children every day, and you do it together, because children absolutely adore having time with their parents. It's so precious, because as an adult, when you look back, what do you remember? It's not living in a fancy house. It's not owning a nice car or having money in the bank. It's the quality of relationships. And imagine if you could sit down with your children and write down 3 things, and maybe you can start to have gratitude for each other. Your family life will then also change. So in these simple little tips that I'm giving you will really help. So to recap, the first thing I would say is look at the baggage you're carrying and see, can you let it go by forgiving? And maybe you're the person that you need to forgive yourself and let it go. You've carried whatever it is for too long. Maybe you can forgive your parents. They did their best. However well or badly they've done it, they have done their best. Forgive your colleagues. They are doing their best. Sometimes we don't know what they're carrying in their hearts. And if you want to have a more joyful heart, you can practice and see, does that make a difference? The next tip that I mentioned was going to bed earlier, getting a better night's sleep. And the final one that I'm going to leave you with is keeping a gratitude journal, and maybe even doing that with your children or your spouse or your loved ones. And the difference and the scientific underpinning of what I'm saying, it will profoundly change your life. I wish you the best day ever.
You were listening to Dr. Hester O'Connor, a clinical psychologist, speaking on embracing change joyfully. This program came to you from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. With apple orchards, saffron fields, glittering lakes and breathtaking meadows, Kashmir in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir draws the attention of tourists from across the globe. With tranquil settings, magnificent views, and pristine nature, Kashmir is a perfect holiday destination that should be visited once in a lifetime. Embark on a virtual journey with us to Kashmir to experience the paradise on earth.
Will you be all right there? Is the situation all under control? Comments such as these were good-humoredly brushed aside as we planned our trip to Kashmir. After all, the strife-torn period of the valley is history, and the residents there are happy with the opening up of tourism and welcome tourists with open arms. The hour-long flight from Delhi takes you to the Kashmir Valley that compelled Emperor Jahangir to exclaim over 400 years ago, "If there was a paradise on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here." A statement, despite the passage of time, holds true even today. Those flying to Srinagar must ask for a window seat for the views that open up as the aircraft glides over the mountain ranges, cloaked with swathes of rolling clouds and breathtaking vistas, is stunning. The city that we are told is named after the goddess Lakshmi, also known as Sri, has the picturesque Jhelum River slicing through it as it moves towards the Dal Lake. Old-timers, especially those who are fans of Bollywood, are sure to be charmed by Kashmir, for a drive through the city will remind them of the hit films from the 1960s and 70s in particular, of actress Sadhana pining for her lost love on the banks of the river, of Shami Kapoor doing his jungly act on the snow-filled mountain slopes, of heroes of innumerable films fighting the bad men in the middle of the Dal, as the charred chinar trees stand majestically in the placid waters. Of course, Kashmir is good any time of the year, but March to October are considered ideal for tourists. Each season casts a wonderful shadow over the valley, be it summer, winter, spring or autumn. Visitors are always charmed by the myriad colors these bring, from white to green to gold, rust and red. It's always a good idea to carry some woolens even in the summer months, because once you get to the upper reaches, the temperature does dip quite a bit. The piece de resistance of Srinagar are its Mughal Gardens, a group of landscaped gardens built by the Mughals in the Persian style of architecture. Walk into the walled enclosure, and you're sure to be bowled over by the significant use of rectilinear layouts, besides the artistically planned pools, fountains and canals that are connected to the Dal Lake. The gardens command magnificent views of the areas around and the snow-capped Pir Panjal mountain ranges, which stands far away to the west of the valley. The first of these, Shalimar Bagh, was built by Emperor Jahangir for his wife Noor Jahan. Its layout follows a three-terraced concept. While the first houses a public garden and pavilion, the second one is known as the Emperor's Garden. The third terrace is called the Zinana Bagh, which was meant only for the ladies of the royal harem. Look out of the grand black marble throne at the Divan-e-Aam, meant for the emperor when he sat here to meet his subjects there while enjoying the artistic views provided by the 4 water channels emanating from a central water source and fringed with fountains and lamps. Last year in September, music lovers from across the world gathered here to listen to the Bavarian State Orchestra from Munich that was conducted by none other than the world-renowned conductor Zubin Mehta, an experience they described as nothing short of magical. The second garden, Nishad Bagh, designed by Asif Khan, the brother of Empress Noor Jahan in 1633, was planned on the 12 signs of the zodiac, while the third, Chashme-Shahi, originally laid out by Shah Jahan, is famous for its 3-storied structure. Drop by at the Pari Mahal, not too far away, which was once the Royal Observatory. A Buddhist monastery at one time, it was converted into a school of astrology by Dara Sikho, who was the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan's eldest son. An academic, he was later killed by Aurangzeb in his fight to the throne. No trip to Srinagar is complete without a night's stay in one of the pretty houseboats that stand lined along the banks of the Dal. Access to these is mostly by small, flat gondola-like boats called shikaras. Soon after you are picked up by the owner of the houseboat in his shikara, it's best to just sit back and enjoy the views that the Dal offers at every turn. Of course, there's no escaping the charming salesmen who will pedal up on their shikaras and try to sell you their wares, from fruits to artifacts and jewelry. It's best to use your discretion in dealing with them. A small flight of steps take you up to the houseboats that are a unique statement in luxury. As you sit admiring the beautifully sculpted, fully carpeted environs, the owner will be at your beck and call, answering whatever queries you may have about the place or the houseboat or even his family. Hot meals are served here, and the next morning, after a warm cup of tea in your suite, he will serve you the breakfast of your choice. Needless to say, you must always be ready with your camera. As the sun slowly climbs up into the sky, the Dal, with its placid waters, looks straight out of a picture postcard. Soon, flower sellers, fruit sellers, etc. will arrive in their shikaras, and in case you wish to buy anything, be prepared to bargain and strike a good deal. About 3 hours from Srinagar lies Sonmarg, or the Meadow of Gold, that was once a stopover for traders on the famous Silk Route of yore. Situated at an altitude of 2,750 meters above sea level, at the foot of the Zojila Pass, Sonmarg is the beautiful gateway to Ladakh, and for many, an important point from where pilgrims start their Amarnath journey. Comfortable walking shoes are a must, especially for those who wish to do some trekking in the mountains. For the intrepid ones, there's a climb to the Thajiwar Glacier. While many prefer going up on foot, others could use the sure-footed ponies to see the beautiful glacier. A tiny market here offers the famous kahwa, the special Kashmiri tea. As we enjoy its warm taste, a local resident tells us that Sonmarg becomes totally inaccessible during the winter months. This is the time when many of the local residents shift to warmer climes to sell their famous shawls and other wares. Another place in Kashmir that's a favorite of many, especially keen skiers, is Gulmarg. That can be translated as a meadow of flowers. Buttercups, bluebells, daisies, forget-me-nots are a delight as they bloom and add color to the countryside. No visitor should miss a ride in the highest cable car in the world. That takes you to a height of about 3,979 meters. The two-stage ropeway ferries about 600 people per hour to and from the gondola main station in Gulmarg to a shoulder of the nearby Mount Afravat summit that stands at a height of 13,780 feet. It's fun getting into the cable cars that offer amazing views of the mountains. You can catch horses grazing, local people going about their chores, tourists taking photo of the stunning views around, etc., till they become tiny specks as you're gently ferried up. As we walk through the little town, our guide promptly points to the places where the film Bobby was shot. A house high up on the hill was where Sharmila Tagore, Amir Khan and Manisha Koirala touched down to shoot for Man. He adds proudly, a lovely, quaint structure. It's now referred to as the Dadi House. And now we shift our focus to Pahalgam, that lies at the junction of the Aru and Sheshnag rivers and surrounded by soaring, fir-covered mountains with bare, snow-capped peaks rising behind them. The Aru flows down from the Kolahui Glacier beyond Liderwat, while the Sheshnag from glaciers along the Great Himalayas. There are over 20 lakes in the areas surrounding Pahalgam that one can visit. In the Aru Valley, lying between the Pir Panjal and the Zanskar ranges, nestles the Betab Valley that got its name from the film Betab, which was shot here. Take a food hamper along and spend a couple of hours walking in the woods or sitting close to the crystal clear, chilly waters of the stream bubbling down from the snowy hills. A word about Kashmir's flavoursome cuisine, especially the wazwan, which is a multi-course meal and the preparation of which is considered an art that all visitors must try. Almost all of wazwan dishes are meat-based: lamb, chicken. For vegetarians too, Kashmir cuisine offers an amazing array from dum aloo to rajma shalgam to tamatar bangan. The variety is amazing. All these tastes, sights and sounds of Kashmir remain etched in your mind long after you're back.
You were listening to a talk on Kashmir, the paradise on earth. This program came to you from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio.
You are with us on the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. We now bring you our commentary. National Education Policy 2020. It is scripted by Payal, educationist, and read by Kaushik Rai. Last week, the Union Cabinet approved the new National Education Policy NEP 2020, paving way for transformational reforms in school and higher education sector in the country. The Cabinet replaced the 34-year-old National Policy on Education and also renamed the Human Resource Development Ministry as Ministry of Education. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the National Education Policy 2020 would transform India into a knowledge hub. The draft stating changes in education system was published by Dr. K. Kasturirangan, former chairman Indian Space Research Organization, in December 2018. The new NEP expands mandatory schooling from the age group of 6 to 14 years to between 3 and 18 years. To help children achieve better learning outcomes, provision for energy-filled breakfast along with nutritious midday meal is extended to preschool children too. In a significant shift from the current 10+2 structure of school education, the NEP casts a 5+3+3+4 design corresponding to ages 3 to 8 foundational stage, 8 to 11 preparatory, 11 to 14 middle, and 14 to 18 secondary respectively. With an emphasis on early childhood care and education (ECCE), the new system will have 12 years of schooling with 3 years of Anganwadi or preschooling, which has been considered globally as a crucial stage for development of mental faculties of children. The NEP 2020 states that students until at least class 5 should be taught in their mother tongue or regional language. No language will be imposed on any student. The policy clearly states that children learn and grasp non-trivial concepts more quickly in their home language. The NEP focuses on universalization of education from preschool to secondary level with 100% gross enrollment ratio GER by 2030. The NEP 2020 will bring back 2 crore out-of-school children into the mainstream through open schooling system. Along with this, NEP 2020 will add up 3.5 crore new seats in higher education. Class 10th and 12th board exams are to be made easier by reducing the syllabus to keep core essentials with thrust on experiential learning and critical thinking. The new policy also allows students to take board exams twice a year. A new accreditation framework and an independent authority will regulate both private as well as public schools, whereas Higher Education Commission of India (HECI) will regulate the entire higher education, excluding medical and legal education. Vocational education is set to begin from class 6, with internships, and higher education curriculum will have flexibility of subjects. National Council for Teacher Education (NCTE), in consultation with NCERT, will frame a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teachers' education by 2021. By 2035, the GER in higher education is to be raised by 50%. Under NEP 2020, there will be no rigid separation between academic streams, extracurricular or vocational streams. The NEP 2020 for tracking students' progress for achieving learning outcomes comes with a 360-degree holistic progress card. Under NEP, undergraduate students can exit after 1 year with a certificate, after 2 years with a diploma, and after 3 years with a bachelor's degree. All the UG, PG and PhD level courses will be interdisciplinary, though MPhil courses will be discontinued. Government will also set up an academic bank of credit to facilitate transfer of credits. By 2030, a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree will be the minimum degree qualification for teaching. At par with Indian Institutes of Technology and Indian Institutes of Management, multidisciplinary education and research universities MERUs are to be set up as models for best multidisciplinary education having global standards. Under NEP, National Research Foundation is to be established to foster a strong research culture. Also, a National Education Technology Forum is to be created for increased use of technology with equity. The NEP 2020 emphasizes upon gender inclusion, funding and special education zones for disadvantaged regions and groups. It also aims to increase public investment in the education sector to reach 6% of the GDP at the earliest from the current expenditure of 4.6%. Thus, the NEP 2020 aims to provide an inclusive, participatory and holistic approach to child education. The NEP on implementation would go a long way in transforming India's education system to meet the needs of the 21st century. That was today's commentary, National Education Policy 2020. It was scripted by Payal, an educationist, and read by Kaushik Rai. This broadcast came to you from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio.
This broadcast came to you from the digital channel of the General Overseas Service of All India Radio.